This is To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. The abortion debate and Florida politics. The leak of the U.S. Supreme Court memo that appears to foretell a majority of justices overturning Roe v. Wade is raising so many questions. First, here at WPTV, we got reaction from, among others, local Democratic Congresswoman Lois Frankel and local Republican Congressman Brian Mast.
I always think for anybody that's wrestling with this issue, it's important to answer two questions for yourself. Number one is do you think that life has an intrinsic value to it that is worth defending? You should answer that question for yourself. And then number two, when do you believe that life begins? And before you have the wrestlement and the argument of debate, answer those two questions for yourself. And for me, I look at that and I say, human life absolutely has an intrinsic value to it that's worth defending. And number two, at minimum, life begins when there's a presence of a heartbeat and brain activity. At minimum, there's the presence of life at that point. And to say something political, I think Democrats are extremely out of lockstep on this issue. Republicans are for small, limited government for every person, every being. That includes the unborn. The unborn have rights.
I lived in the pre-Roe period. I personally found a 15-year-old friend bleeding nearly to death from a back alley abortion. And those were the days of deaths and morbidity for literally millions of women who could not get a safe legal abortion. So we're going to go back to those days, but as important is we're going to be taking away the most important personal decision from people, and that is whether or not to bring a child into the world. And a child is most likely a blessing for most people. It changes the course of your life, but for some, they are neither not ready nor are they healthy enough to bring a child into the world. These are personal decisions that should not be blocked by judges, state legislators, or governors.
My guest today, Dr. Kevin Wagner, a familiar face here on To the Point, chairman of the Political Science Department at Florida Atlantic University. Thank you, doctor, for being with us. First reaction to what you just heard.
Yeah, what it does is it transforms the national issue of abortion rights, and reproductive rights from presuming that this case actually is decided the way that the leak suggested, from a solely national legal issue into a legislative issue at the state level. And so you're going to see states wrestling with exactly the types of things that you saw the two members of Congress talking about and how they judge those and weigh those. How
do you think, knowing the political scene as you do in Florida, that goes?
Well, right now the legislature is Republican. It has been for a long time. The state government's been controlled by Republicans for a long time. And you've seen, at least in this last legislative session, you've seen a bill that was just passed that reduced abortion access to 15 weeks or earlier.
From 24.
From 24. So you've already seen a move towards the direction of being a little more restrictive on abortion. The real question that I don't think there's a clear answer to is whether or not, in light of this decision, assuming that it goes the way that the leaked opinion suggests it will.
An overturn of Roe v. Wade.
Right. Yeah, assuming that they have the authority, would this legislature push that number closer? Would they make it smaller? Would they follow in the footsteps of the way that Texas has gone, that some other states are going? There's been trigger laws in other states that want to basically ban abortion. It's not clear what the Florida legislature would do under this new sort of non-Roe world.
They're on the far conservative side, far right side of the Florida Republican Party, already those pushing for a fetal heartbeat bill, similar to Texas, talking about a 6-week mark, and others saying flat out, no exceptions at all, a complete overturn, no abortion possible whatsoever. We'll see where that debate goes. In Florida, you, Brian, Crowley, and I always talk about this. Once thought to be a purple state, many argue it's a red state now. You cannot separate the dynamic of the decision from the politics of what it will mean. And every legislator, every Floridian right now having to decide that. Talk about the political landscape that rolls out now as we look at midterm elections this year, the possible impact and all the calculus that is going on in legislative chambers and, of course, for everyone at home.
It creates a real uncertainty, because you could run for office in Florida and say, I'm pro-life or I'm pro-choice, but ultimately it's not my decision. The Supreme Court in Roe versus Wade made a decision, and I have to live with that no matter what my personal feeling is on it. But now members that are running for the Florida House and the Florida Senate and for governor in Florida are going to have to answer the question of how would you vote on bills that either expand or restrict reproductive rights, because those questions in a post-Roe world are going to be questions that states are going to have to decide that they've never had to decide before. And the real tricky question that I don't think anyone has a real handle on, because this is really a somewhat unprecedented circumstance, is to what extent are new voters going to enter this particular election because of this issue and vote and make their voice heard? Because if they do, it could very well change the calculus of how those legislators, what they choose or who's running for governor and what positions that they take. But we don't know the answer to that, and whether or not those voters are going to, they're going to be motivated enough to turn out in numbers significant enough to change the outcome. Is
there any past as prologue study you've done that suggests how that may play out?
It's a really hard one to look at, because remember, the issue of reproductive rights and abortion has really been frozen since the 1970s, right? 1973. Right. And so you haven't seen a lot of, you've seen people rally around it, but to a lot of people, see, here's the tricky part, right? You can poll people and ask them, hey, how do you feel about this issue? But that's not as determinative as you might think, because the question isn't just how do you feel about it, but is that the issue that is going to motivate your choice?
The motivating issue sends you to the polls and is your signature or single voter issue.
Right. For example, for gun rights proponents, that is the motivating issue for a great many of them. So you will find for a lot of people, they will say, well, I generally favor Roe, but the question is, do they favor it enough that when they go to the polls, they put the other issues aside and say, this is the issue that I'm going to vote on? And I don't think a lot of people know that, because we haven't seen anything like this in a really long time.
Or the flip side can sometimes be, and let me put this to you, people on that segment of the political landscape, those who supported abortion rights and were pro-choice, so fed up that they don't go at all. I mean, you don't know where the dynamic of this takes you. And conversely, one political analyst in the state argued that Republican voters could be so energized by what appears to be the likely overturn of Roe v. Wade, it may motivate them even more to go to the polls. So we really just don't know. It's a landscape we just don't have a full sense of yet.
That one's tricky, because typically the pattern usually is that when you win, you tend to relax, which is when something happens and you've got what you wanted, you feel like I've accomplished something and now I can focus on other things. It's one of the reasons that the midterms usually go against the president, right? Because the president won 2 years ago, and then 2 years later you're already like, well, we won, I got things to do. So the general anticipation is the side that loses sort of big decisions like this or loses previous elections is going to be the one more motivated to turn out. But you're absolutely and 100% right. It really matters whether or not voters, decide, hey, this is the issue that is going to get me to the poll. And in Florida, remember, the Republicans have done very well in Florida. They've been close elections, but Republicans have generally won most of the statewide elections, almost basically all of them, by small margins. So what really would have to happen for Democrats in this state is you'd have to turn out voters that are not typical voters. You'd have to turn out new voters who say, this issue is so important to me, I'm going to vote on it.
And tilt the NPAs, which are coming up on, they're between a quarter, not quite a third of the Florida vote, but well more than a quarter of those registered as non-party affiliated. You would, as a Democrat anyway, have to hope that a lot of them you flip to your side on that issue. We just don't have the evidence on where that goes yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, of course, for Republicans, they see, if you supported where the Supreme Court is purportedly going on this, there might be, this could not be the end, right? You'd also think that the court should move on other issues as well.
Talk about that.
The interesting, one of the interesting aspects of the decision is it's based on the concept, Roe versus Wade is based on the concept of a right derivative of privacy, and privacy coming out of the 14th Amendment or the 10th Amendment, depending on how you see it. It's not a delineated right. And one of the things that Justice Alito speaks about in the decision is that unless
he's the one who wrote the draft memo.
Right. One of the things he speaks about is he says, look, if it's not a well-grounded in history or tradition, then it maybe not be there.
But he also argued very substantively, do not misread this as anything more then focused on abortion and nothing else, and mentioned some of the other issues you've talked about.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part, right? Because he does specifically say, because abortion deals with life, and this is a very particular issue, this decision should be focused on that. But the tricky part here is that if the logic that he's using, that rights that are not founded in tradition, and
Like
you can make
same-sex marriage, for instance, has been brought up.
Ogerfeld, Lawrence. I mean, there's a whole bunch of decisions that are sort of based on Griswold, right, which is contraceptive. All of these are based on this idea of privacy being inherent in the constitutional framework. If you use that logic, you can reach interesting places. Now, I agree with you. Justice Alito says, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about this. But once a case is done.
Doesn't mean legislatures don't put it back to the Supreme Court.
Legislators or other judges.
Governor DeSantis running for re-election and seems to be in the driver's seat right now. Huge fundraising, so on and so forth. Obviously supportive of the change from a 24-week to 15-week period for abortions in Florida. Hasn't spoken so much yet about how much farther he's willing to go. Are politicians like the governor waiting to see what happens in a state that, while it may be tilting red, still is diverse enough in terms of the electorate that we just don't know, based on all the dynamics you've talked about, of where we'll end up on this and how it will motivate people to go? Or do you see something else at play?
No, it is a particularly tricky issue. Florida is not, the same as other southern states. We have a, while it has been a more Republican state, especially in the last 20 years, there are significant populations of people that, especially here in South Florida, that are not going to be as receptive to these particular issues.
We've got about a minute left. We, in the last month, sat down with, on To The Point, Nikki Fried, Charlie Crist, and Annette Taddeo, the major Democratic candidates. Again, everything suggests that the governor is right now on track for a re-election bid that will be successful, and of course he wants to look to 2024. Talk about where they stand in their contest with one another and against the governor, and again, how this issue might change that dynamic in your closing time.
Look, the only honest answer to give you is that by all ways that we can measure this gubernatorial race, the governor is in a very strong position. Governor DeSantis is in a strong position. He's well financed. His support in the state is strong and significant. It's going to be an uphill challenge for any Democrat. Most of the polling suggests, at least at this point, that the former governor, Charlie Crist, is in the best position. Those things can change as people get more attention to it. The financing, though, again, on the Democratic side is well behind the Republican side. The one hope that they might have is an issue like the Roe versus Wade, and that becoming a central issue might motivate voters to turn out and change the dynamic. But as it exists, under the current circumstances, you'd have to say the governor is in a particularly strong position. As always, appreciate your perspective. We could talk about this all day long, but thank you helping to frame the issues, at least for our viewers, as you always do, Dr. Wagner. Appreciate you being aboard. Always. Up next, more reaction from Tallahassee and longtime political analyst, including our Brian Crowley.